The galaxy called it the crown of judgment, a chamber older than most stars. It hung suspended at the molten center of Sagittarius A, where light bent in reverent silence around a supermassive presence. Delegations from 14,000 known civilizations gathered here in solemn grandeur. They spoke in harmonics, telepathy, bioluminescence, phased sound waves, all blending into an austere discord of cosmic diplomacy. Envoy. General Elias Varr didn't know any of that yet. He only knew the doors he was about to walk through, and the weight of an entire world on his spine. He was not yet in the chamber, not yet seen, not yet expected. Humanity had been barred, declared too volatile, too emotional, too unpredictable for intergalactic equilibrium. So the decision-makers would meet without the species under trial. Elias stood in the quiet transport bay just beyond the Senate's threshold. He wore stealth armor, matte black, non-reflective, adaptive. It whispered against his skin like a second soul, powered by tech reverse-engineered from alien scrap, patched with human improvisation and prayer. His helmet was mag-clipped to his belt. He wanted to show his face when the moment came. He breathed in slow, measured, human. He felt his heart, a metronome of defiance. Behind him, the 4 silent escorts waited, also human, also armored, also uninvited. And in their silence, Elias felt something like unity. No words were needed. The mission had already carved itself into their bones. He reached once more into his pocket and touched the tiny, metal crescent inside, the barely there shape of a prayer token. His mother had pressed it into his palm before launch. Not for luck, she had whispered. Luck runs out, faith doesn't. He didn't believe easily, not like she did. But there was something comforting in the feel of it. Something ancient and steady. A quiet sense that the universe had purpose woven into it, like threads running beneath perception. A soft, resonant swell vibrated through the structure. It was the Senate beginning session. Elias raised his gaze toward the sealed doors inside. Unknown to him, a debate raged. The Verthuan delegate pulsed in shades of amber, speaking through photonic radiance. Humans possess adaptive aggression, incompatible with cosmic harmony. Their history is warfare, improvisation, emotional volatility. A chorus of agreement rippled through the amphitheater. The crystalline Aurelion Prime chimed in, words ringing like struck glass. They innovate faster than ethical oversight can regulate. They break every model and then rewrite their own. Silence followed, cold and heavy. Finally, the Archon of the Senate, a being of monumental scale whose body resembled liquid starfire, rippled and spoke, then let the vote commence. Elias didn't hear the words, but he felt something shift. The universe itself seemed to lean forward. Waiting. He tapped the side of his visor. Status, he murmured. A calm voice replied in his earpiece. Commander Sol Warwick, manning the cloaked ship anchored outside the galactic core. Proceed, Elias. Timing perfect. No going back now. Elias wasn't sure if that comforted him or sharpened his tension. Inside the hall, as 3,000 species prepared to erase humanity from history, one elderly alien from a species of contemplative philosophers paused and whispered to his aide, "Why do I feel uncertainty?" The aide tilted its head. "You believe they might appear?" The elder's tendrils folded inward, contemplative. "I do not know, but someone, may wish them to live." That thought lingered in the chamber like invisible incense. Elias took one step forward. Then another. His escorts followed, silent as lunar shadow. The doors to the Senate loomed 100 meters tall, carved with cosmic scripts no human should have been able to decipher, yet Elias could. Human linguists had cracked alien proto-semantics in 7 months. Aliens believed it would take centuries, if at all. Humans had a way of learning that bordered on miraculous or maddening, depending on perspective. Elias felt a faint warmth. Inside his pocket, the prayer token again. He wasn't touching it. He wasn't even thinking about it. But it warmed anyway. Maybe just heat from his skin. Maybe coincidence. Maybe something else. Inside the Senate, the final verdict crystallized. The Archon's voice boomed like cosmic thunder. The motion to terminate humanity's cosmic status is carried by majority. Sentence: existential nullification. 1,000 species etched confirmation. 1,000 civilizations sealed humanity's doom. And at that exact moment, the doors opened, not politely, not ceremonially. They parted with a slow, inexorable force, as if compelled by something beyond mechanism. Some even wondered if the doors wanted to open. A sudden hush swept through the chamber. Elias Varr walked in. His boots echoed on the obsidian floor, each step deliberate, human, undeniable. His escorts flanked him like shadows. Their armor carried no insignia except a single universal symbol, a circle containing a dot. Earth, for the first time in galactic history, humanity stood inside the Senate Hall. Eyes, in forms beyond eyes, turned toward them. Telepaths tasted his conviction. Empaths felt his fear and resolve tangled together. Machines registered his heartbeat, steady, unwavering. Elias felt thousands of minds weighing him, judging him, fearing him. They had spoken of humanity as animal, anomaly, infestation. But now they saw a man, jaw firm, eyes clear, striding onto the Senate floor like someone who had already walked through hell and memorized the route. When he stopped at the center dais, he didn't bow. He didn't kneel. He simply stood there. For a heartbeat, the galaxy held its breath. Elias lifted his gaze to the Archon. He didn't speak yet. That was the human advantage. Timing. Make them feel the silence. Make them confront the presence. Make them realize. You do not decide the fate of humanity without humanity in the room. One of the insectoid senators demanded in trilling fury. How dare you trespass? But the Archon raised a radiant arm, silencing the hall. And in that silence, Elias Varr spoke for the first time. Before you judge us, look us in the eyes. That simple sentence rolled through the chamber like a quiet quake. Elias didn't raise his voice. He didn't posture. It was something deeper, sincerity sharpening into steel. He saw them, the skeptical, the curious, the hostile. He saw the ones who still hoped humans might surprise them. He saw the ones who had already accepted extermination as destiny. He also noticed something the others didn't: the faint shimmer along the chamber walls. The architecture itself was reacting. It recognized something in humanity. Something old. Elias exhaled slowly. He felt the presence of the token in his pocket. Warm. He didn't look at it. He didn't need to. He wasn't alone in this moment, even if every other being thought he was. And for the first time since he left Earth, Elias dared to believe that maybe, just maybe, the universe wasn't indifferent. Maybe survival wasn't luck. Maybe someone wanted humanity to live. And as the Senate stared at the lone human standing, in defiance of the galaxy's verdict, a quiet realization spread through minds across the hall. He had come to rewrite the sentence. The Archon's starfire gaze narrowed. It spoke two words: state purpose. Elias Varr looked up and smiled with calm defiance. The Archon's radiance flickered, a gesture equivalent to narrowing eyes. The Senate's amphitheater dimmed as full attention converged on one singular human presence. Elias felt that attention like a weight on the skin, ancient, alien, testing. He answered the Archon's prompt with measured breath. "We are here," Elias said, voice level, "because no one gets to decide humanity's existence without us in the room." No dramatic shout, no threat, just calm conviction. A tremor moved through the council. Shock, outrage, curiosity, admiration. Alien reactions manifested in countless forms: light pulses, color shifts, thermal discharge, fractal vibrations. The Verthuan delegate flashed in heated amber. "You dare interrupt a lawful extermination order?" Elias didn't flinch. "I dare request honesty. You fear us because we don't obey the limits you expect." Low murmurs rippled. They called us chaotic, Elias continued, eyes scanning the chamber. But we call it creativity. He felt his own pulse, steady, grounding. His escorts remained silent, their armor absorbing light like silhouettes cut from void dot. Then a crystalline Aurelion Prime rang out, voice shimmering across the hall. You break frameworks. You redefine parameters. You are uncontrollable. Elias nodded once. Yes, and sometimes uncontrollable is another word for alive. A hush. He let it settle. Then he spoke quieter now. We love, we build, we fail, we get back up. Humans conquer nothing more ferociously than their own limitations. One alien, a long-limbed ethereal species, tilted its head and murmured, there is a pattern in them, fractal growth, chaotic evolution. Another, an ancient race of neural moss, pulsed with trepidation, or a contagion of unpredictability. The Archon floated forward, starfire body rippling. Your species solved technologies in decades that others required millennia to stabilize. Your minds behave as if discontent is a biological imperative. Elias' lips curved. That's an elegant way of saying we don't give up. At that, an unexpected sound echoed through the hall, a soft metallic chuckle from the smallest alien in the chamber. A pebble-sized representative of the hexy-drone mind. Amusement. Elias breathed in again, feeling the token against his leg. Warm, steady. He thought of his mother, her voice, her faith. He thought of Earth, flawed, loud, stubborn, beautiful. The Archon shifted. Humanity was excluded from this hearing. Because your kind cannot be predicted or contained within acceptable parameters of cosmic equilibrium. Elias answered with a slow nod. That's the thing. Balance is not the absence of turbulence. It is learning to navigate it. The chamber absorbed that. Some minds recoiled. Others leaned closer. Then the Archon asked the question Elias knew was coming. What do you seek? Elias's jaw tightened. His gaze didn't drift. He spoke as though commanding gravity itself. A vote. With us present. No one reacted for a moment, and then the Senate erupted. Lights flashing. Infrasound tremors. Telepathic storms. Linguistic outbursts. Impossible. Unprecedented. Illegitimate. Arrogant. Bold. Terrifying. The chamber swirled with agitation, a cosmic hurricane of opinion. Elias remained still. Let them rage. Let them wrestle. Let them feel the presence of the species they tried to erase. His escorts didn't move, but one, a younger soldier, Cade, whispered through coms, "You've got them rattled." Elias whispered back, lips barely moving. They expected silence. "We gave them witness." Inside him, doubt flickered, small but real. He wondered, are we truly ready for this? Will they understand us? Or fear us more? But then he felt something, like a soft pulse of reassurance, not from his escort, not from coms, not from himself. Just a feeling. As though the universe shifted slightly in his favor. Maybe coincidence. Maybe hope. Maybe something greater. The Archon raised its glowing hand again. And quiet slowly flooded back into the hall, to request rights where none were granted. Its voice reverberated like cosmic thunder diffused through silk. "Is to display a faith beyond reason." Elias simply replied, "Perhaps reason alone is too small. A tool for a universe this large." That line lingered, almost poetic, and many beings felt it vibrate through their consciousness. Archon studied him. "You request a revote. With humanity participating?" "Yes." "With full voice?" "Yes." "With equal standing?" Elias drew in a breath. "Yes." The Archon's form brightened, a rising solar tide of radiance. "If the Senate refuses?" Elias met the starfire gaze with unwavering eyes. "Then you show that your justice is only justice when it is." "Easy." Silence cracked. That line hit something deep, even sacred. aliens, with no concept of morality, felt its gravity. Beings of pure reason felt its logic. Empathic species felt its emotional truth. Elias continued, "You want us gone because we are unpredictable. But unpredictable doesn't mean unworthy. It means potential." The Archon flickered again, almost like a heartbeat. Humanity believes itself special. Exceptional? Elias shook his head. No, just determined. And then, breaking the rhythm, another voice spoke, soft, ancient, from the elder philosopher species. "Archon, let them speak. Let them be seen." The Archon turned. "You support their petition?" "I support fairness," the elder replied. "And perhaps destiny." Another voice chimed, the tiny hexy drone mind. "We are not afraid of humans. We are fascinated." Then the Severan Prime rang out, "We are afraid." Then a dozen voices overlapping in chorus. "We are curious, we are cautious, we are divided." And finally, the Archon made a motion, in a blaze of cosmic authority. "The motion to reconsider the extermination of humanity shall be revoted." A shockwave of reaction tore through the chamber, like a psychic storm. Elias didn't move. He just felt relief, quiet, fragile, sincere, but he wasn't finished. Because now came the critical moment, the line that would break or save them. The Archon prepared to initiate the revolt. Elias raised his hand. "One more thing." The Archon paused. The entire Senate froze. Elias spoke, voice soft but cutting through the chamber, like a blade forged of pure will. "Vote again." And then he added, "But this time, look us in the eyes while you do it." The chamber didn't breathe. The Archon stared at him. Inside Elias, beneath courage and exhaustion and nerves, he felt something ancient stir. Something that gave him strength. He didn't know he still had. Maybe faith, maybe destiny, maybe something between. The Archon finally spoke. "Then let the eyes of the galaxy witness humanity." And lights intensified, and every mind focused, and every gaze turned to Elias. As the revolt began, but deep inside the central dais, beneath the stone, something stirred. Something hidden, as though the chamber itself recognized humanity, and awakened. The moment froze, breath halting. Tension coiled. That was when Elias finally allowed himself a slow, steady exhale. The chamber brightened to a painful brilliance, the light of 1,000 decision-makers radiating judgment. The revolt was beginning, and Elias could feel the tension in the air like static just before lightning. Each species possessed its own method of voting: sonic, neural, luminal, telepathic. The Senate resembled a living storm of cognition. Elias didn't need telepathy to know one truth. Their fear was real. Because now, unlike before, they weren't judging an abstraction of humanity. They were looking directly at a human being, breathing. Steady, unbowed. The Archon rose higher, limbs of stardust curling into ceremonial formation. The revolt commences. Elias felt Cade behind him stiffen, felt the slight shudder in his armor. He knew what the soldier was thinking. If this goes wrong, we die here. Elias didn't turn around. Instead, he let his voice reach just barely into Cum's. "Stand firm. They need to see we are not afraid." Cade whispered back, "I'm working on that part." Elias almost smiled, almost. A roar of harmonic resonance swept through the hall as the first wave of votes was cast. Verthuan delegate pulsed amber, radiating verdict: extermination, yes. Elias didn't look away. Then the chorale Severan Prime chimed. Eradicate, yes. Another species, a spined predator culture, projected mental imagery of a star being extinguished, yes. The tide was rising against humanity. Behind Elias' ribs his heart hammered, fear not for himself, but for the meaning of human existence. Then, unexpectedly, A filament-thin voice rang out. "We vote no." All eyes turned. It was the Hexy-drone mind, the tiny pebble-like being on its levitation disk. Their collective consciousness flickered in quantum modulation. "Our assessment sees humanity not as threat, but as variable. A catalyst species. Removing them collapses unknown futures." Elias bowed his head slightly, not in deference, but respect. "Next," the philosopher elder spoke, their voice like wind over stone. "We vote no. They are young, and youth is not crime." The Archon noted each count, silently tallying, but the tally still leaned heavily toward annihilation, and Elias felt it. The weight of cosmic history pressing down. The Archon turned toward one of the largest factions, a gas-based species of hyper-civilized tacticians. Their voice manifested in billows of colored vapor. "We vote." Yes, another blow. Elias felt something twist inside him. Not despair, but frustration. How could they fail to see? How could they judge humanity only by its violence and ignore its miracles? He wanted to shout, but didn't, because shouting would make them think humans were unrestrained emotion. Instead, he let silence speak for him. Around him, alien eyes, or whatever counted as eyes, watched. Finally, the Archon itself spoke. "The Senate is currently split, but trending toward humanity's extermination. Are there further arguments before conclusion?" 1,000 eyes turned to Elias. He stepped forward. And in that moment, he wasn't speaking as military envoy. He wasn't speaking as trained negotiator. He wasn't even speaking as strategist. He spoke as human. "When you think of us," he began quietly, "you picture war. You picture destruction." He paused. "But do you know what else we do?" He looked around the hall, at beings older than suns and younger than sparks. "We write music that makes strangers cry. We build machines that outlast us. We risk our lives to save each other, even when there is no logic to it." The chamber grew still. Elias didn't pace, didn't gesture dramatically. He just spoke truth. "When someone falls, we reach. When someone suffers, we ache. When someone believes, we hope alongside them." Something stirred in him, and without planning, he found himself speaking words that felt guided. There is something in us that doesn't come from evolution alone, something unseen. Many species blinked, some puzzled, some intrigued. The predator species growled. "You refer to deity?" Elias shook his head gently. "No, to the quiet force behind existence, whatever it is. We don't claim it. We just feel it. In luck, in survival, in impossible coincidences that keep us alive." He took a breath. "Maybe you have no word for it, but we do. We call it faith." Some aliens stirred, confused, some curious, one or two troubled. "And yes, we fight," Elias said, voice hardening slightly. "But sometimes we fight the universe itself." Suddenly, a projection flickered into existence overhead. Not planned, not triggered, not intentional. A hologram, drawn from the Senate's archival intelligence, depicting scenes of human history. Firefighting brigades charging into burning buildings. Doctors performing surgery against impossible odds. A soldier shielding civilians with his own body. Astronauts stepping onto lunar dust. A human child reaching to pet a frightened animal. A crowd of strangers lifting rubble by hand to find a survivor. The Senate didn't know these records existed. Elias didn't either. A murmur swept the hall. Confusion, awe, disbelief. The Archon turned sharply. This projection was not summoned. The chamber hum shifted, as though the very walls were conscious. Elias felt the warmth of the token intensify, almost like a pulse. He didn't look at it. He didn't need to. Maybe it was machine intelligence. Maybe cosmic coincidence. Maybe eternity itself leaning in. When the projection faded, the hall was quiet in a new, reverent way. Elias spoke the final words, soft as breath. "We're not asking you to trust us. We're asking you to witness us." And understand, we are trying. And we will keep trying, even when we fail. A long moment passed. Then, from an unexpected corner, a being of pure energy pulsed. We vote no. Another followed. We vote no. Again. No, no. Like sparks catching, the tide began to shift. But then, the Senate's largest military civilization spoke. We still vote yes, and the hall shook with force. The Archon lifted its burning hand. All votes have now been cast. A silence like the breath before thunder. And the final tally is, Elias braced body taut. Balanced, half yes, half no, a deadlock, but Elias could sense something. Forming, something immense. The Archon's voice swelled to fill the chamber. In the case of equilibrium, the deciding vote falls to the witness of origin. Elias blinked. He didn't know this role. No human did. Cade whispered in comes. Who the hell is the witness of origin? Then, in the center of the chamber, a figure rose. Older than stars. Unknown to the Senate, not belonging to any faction. A being of deep cosmic silence. Their voice came like an echo from the first dawn of consciousness. I will cast the deciding vote. Elias locked eyes, or whatever counted as eyes, with this entity, and he felt something indescribable. Not mind to mind, not soul to soul, something deeper. The witness spoke. I cast my vote. Elias exhaled, heart clenched. For life, and the chamber exploded with sensation. The verdict had tipped. Humanity would live. But that was not the ending. Because the witness of origin turned fully toward Elias and spoke a phrase that no translation system could fully decipher. Yet Elias understood. Your species has a purpose yet to unfold. The witness sank back into obscurity. The Archon raised its arms, now in acceptance rather than threat. The verdict is rendered. Humanity shall not be annihilated. Elias felt a breath he didn't know he was holding escape him, shaky, relieved. But before hope could settle, the Archon's voice took on a darker tone. But the reprieve is conditional. Conditional? Elias tensed. What condition? The Archon's eyes burned like twin stars. You must prove yourselves worthy of existence. Elias swallowed. How? The Archon leaned forward, a cosmic question in living flame. You will undertake the trial of species. Elias felt his blood go cold. Behind him, Cade whispered, Oh no. Oh no. Elias didn't know what this trial was. But the whispers rippling through the chamber told him everything. No species had ever passed it. Most never returned. He was still standing. But the ground beneath him had shifted. Humanity had escaped death, only to be thrust into a new reckoning. The Archon spoke one last time. Prepare yourselves, children of Earth. And Elias Varr realized the real test had just begun. The words trial of species reverberated through Elias's mind like a tolling bell. The Archon's radiance dimmed to a solemn glow, signaling the end of the session. Delegates began withdrawing, drifting like constellations peeling away into individual stars. But Elias stood frozen, as though gravity itself had tightened. The escorts moved closer, instinctive. Cade spoke softly into the coms, voice tight. Elias. What the hell have we just agreed to? He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he watched the witness of origin, that impossible being, dissolve back into stillness. It wasn't gone, just unseen. Like a presence stepping into a deeper dimension. Finally, Elias spoke out loud, not to his team, but to the Archon. What is this trial? The Archon turned, slow and majestic. It is the measure of a species' soul. Elias's brow tightened. We are not a hive mind. Our soul is not singular. Precisely, the Archon replied. Your humanity lies not in uniformity, but in divergence. This trial will expose what lies beneath that divergence. Elias didn't like the sound of that. Explain it. The Archon's form flickered, a sign of contemplation. The trial is conducted on the world of Aurelion Prime, a planet older than our Senate, used only for ultimate judgment. There, your kind will face 3 ordeals: mind, heart, and fate. Cade muttered, "They always make it poetic before killing you." Another escort, Vale, older, steadier, whispered, "Keep listening." The Archon continued. The first ordeal tests intellect. The second tests compassion. The third tests perseverance against cosmic despair. Elias felt the token in his pocket warm, almost burning now. He placed a hand against his thigh, over the fabric. It wasn't painful, just insistent. "And if we pass?" Elias asked. The Archon's starfire pulsed. "Then humanity is granted full sovereign standing in this galaxy. Equal voice, equal right, equal existence. And if we fail?" Silence. "Then you cease to exist." No dramatic flourish, no sinister threat. Just a sentence delivered with the weight of the cosmos. Elias didn't react outwardly, but inside, a tremor. And then, something subtle happened. The Archon added, "There is one consolation. Any species undertaking the trial is permitted a final envoy moment, to speak, kneel, pray, or prepare." Elias almost laughed. "That implies others believed in something beyond themselves." "Some did," the Archon replied. "Some prayed to suns, others to ancestors, others to the unseen. Some merely sought courage in silence." Elias' gaze softened, almost reflective. "We know that pattern." As if in response, the token warmed again. The Archon turned away, closing the session. "You depart in one cycle. Prepare yourselves." The Senate dissolved, one by one, leaving residual echoes of judgment and curiosity. Soon the chamber stood empty except for Elias, his escorts, and a faint shadow, a feeling, not a presence, not consciousness, just something watching kindly. Cade exhaled hard. "I can't believe this. We survived genocide just to get thrown into divine obstacle courses." Vale grunted. "I'll take obstacles over annihilation." "Will you?" Cade retorted. "We don't even know what we're facing." Elias turned to them. Finally, his voice was steady. "We're facing what humanity has faced since Fire and Wheel." Cade frowned. "And that is?" Elias almost smiled. "The unknown." They left the hall. Their footsteps echoed along the obsidian corridor, a long walkway that led back to the docking concourse. The structure hummed around them, alive, responsive. Halfway to the exit, Vale spoke. "Sir, did you feel it? When those projections showed up, the ones of humans helping each other?" Elias nodded slowly. "It wasn't the Senate's doing." "Then who? A glitch? A ghost? A data echo?" Elias shook his head. It felt intentional. They reached the transport bay. Their ship hovered outside the force barrier, invisible to all but them. A cloak of human invention and gritted optimism. Before boarding, Elias paused. He looked out at the galactic core, a black hole surrounded by luminous matter, swirling like a cosmic halo, and suddenly, he whispered. Not to the team, not even consciously, just softly. "Don't leave us alone in this." No one heard. Except maybe, whatever listens in silence. Behind him, Vale cleared his throat. "We're ready for extraction, sir." Elias nodded, recentering. He stepped toward the docking channel. Then a voice spoke, not through comms, not through ears, directly inside his awareness. Faint, powerful. "You will not be alone." Elias jerked, stunned. He turned sharply, scanning the room. Nothing, no illusion. Just emptiness. Cade frowned. "Sir?" Elias swallowed. "Did you hear something?" "No," Vale said. "Should we have?" Elias hesitated. He thought of telling them, but stopped. Instead, he simply whispered. "Never mind." They boarded. As the airlock sealed and the stealth ship re-engaged, Elias gazed one last time at the Senate behind them. He didn't know if the voice he heard was real, or if stress was cracking his psyche. But something about it didn't feel like hallucination. It felt like reassurance, like a hand on the shoulder. And for the first time since arriving here, Elias no longer felt like he stood entirely alone against the galaxy. As the ship prepared to warp toward Aurelion Prime, Cade muttered under his breath, "What kind of world is this trial planet anyway?" Elias answered quietly, "A world that judges more than strength." Cade looked at him. "What then?" Elias watched stars elongate into streaks as warp engaged. "It judges who we really are." The ship vanished into slipspace. And somewhere far behind them, in the abandoned Senate chamber, the witness of origin opened its eyes again, though no one was there to see. Deep beneath the courtyard floor of Prophet Suleiman's time-lost chamber, the stone steps spiraled downward until our young scientist stepped into an enormous underground library. The ceiling was carved like the firmament of the night, and tiny glowing stars shimmered within it. Thousands of manuscripts and scrolls rested on floating shelves that slowly rotated in the air. This was Beit al-Hikmah al-Makfiyah, the hidden house of knowledge. Our scientist walked softly, respectfully. The air was thick with an almost living presence of wisdom. On the far wall, illuminated by a quiet blue radiance, he found a pedestal. Upon it lay a single manuscript, sealed with golden wax bearing the emblem of a winged creature. He hesitated, then carefully broke the seal. Inside was a prophecy, not of doom, but of responsibility. Knowledge without humility becomes corruption. Wisdom without compassion becomes tyranny. And power without obedience to Allah becomes destruction. As he read, the letters in the manuscript rearranged themselves, forming a new line. "You were chosen not for your mind, but for your heart." For a moment, he stood silent. And then, a voice, ancient, calm, and filled with authority, echoed through the chamber. "You have opened that which was meant for a pure-hearted seeker. Now the next trial awaits you." The torches around the library flared to life. The manuscript shook, and the floor beneath him began to split apart. The stone floor cracked open in a perfect geometric circle. Glowing inscriptions surged from the gap, forming spirals of golden light. Our young scientist staggered back, shielding his eyes. From the depths rose a platform of light, and upon it appeared 3 shimmering inscriptions, each written in ancient Arabic script. A voice spoke again, strong and measured. "Before wisdom is granted, truth must be chosen." The 3 inscriptions translated themselves in his mind. 1. Power over all living creatures. 2. 3. Wealth beyond measure. 4.5. Understanding of true knowledge. 6. Immediately, he felt the weight of the question. Power could make him feared. Wealth could make him admired. But knowledge, real knowledge, could guide generations. He placed his hand over the 3rd inscription. The chamber responded. The glowing runes swirled around him like stars in orbit. The voice spoke, and there was unmistakable approval in its tone. "You have chosen the path once walked by the prophets, wisdom above desire." Then something unexpected happened. From the depths beneath him rose a small shining object, encapsulated in crystal. A ring, not the ring of command, not the ring of control, but the ring of listening, a gift said to reflect the ability to hear truths others ignore. As he took the crystal ring into his hand, he heard a final message. The next step lies not in the earth, but in the sky. The chamber fell still. The light dimmed, and from above, a gentle wind began to flow downward, as if the world outside was calling him upward. The sky above Aurelion Prime shimmered like molten silver. Elias' transport pierced the atmosphere, cutting through clouds that glowed with phosphorescent storms. The planet's surface stretched below like an endless labyrinth of jagged canyons, violet plains, and rivers of quicksilver, alive with energy that hummed against his senses. Elias stepped onto the landing platform, the ground trembling underfoot, resonating with a cadence that seemed almost alive. He adjusted the ring of listening on his finger. Immediately, he could hear whispers carried in the wind, echoes of past trials, warnings, and guidance. The voices weren't human, yet they were intelligible, as if the planet itself was speaking through time. Cade and Vale flanked him, armored and vigilant. Each step forward revealed new hazards, metallic spires that bent light unpredictably, chasms exhaling clouds of electrical storms, creatures moving beneath the quicksilver rivers that seemed to sense every vibration. Elias exhaled slowly, steadying himself. This is not merely a test of strength, he thought. It's a test of perception, of insight, of character. From the swirling clouds ahead, a bridge of solidified light extended, leading them toward the first trial. The ring of listening pulsed, a subtle warmth crawling up his arm. Elias understood. The planet wanted them to succeed, but only if they could hear, truly hear, the truths it offered. Suddenly, the bridge shuddered. From the sky descended forms made of pure energy, their outlines human-like but distorted, flickering and wavering. They did not speak, yet Elias could hear their intent, vibrating directly in his mind. Fear, anger, doubt, all the negative impulses of countless beings who had failed here before. Elias stepped forward. We are humans. Unpredictable, flawed, persistent. He tightened his jaw. We will listen, and we will act with clarity. The first of the energy forms surged forward, a wave of force that could have crushed a lesser species. Elias held the ring of listening up and felt a whisper. Calm your mind. Understand before reacting. He did. And suddenly, the energy wave faltered. The forms weren't attacking. They were testing comprehension. Each wave corresponded to a false assumption about human instinct. Aggression, panic, flight. Each time Elias slowed, listened, and acted with reason, the waves dissipated, folding into the air like smoke. Cade and Vale followed suit, instinctively adopting his rhythm. Together, they moved across the bridge of light, every step a negotiation between instinct and insight, fear and understanding. By the time they reached the center of the first trial, the energy forms bowed subtly, dissolving into the atmosphere. Elias exhaled sharply. The ring of listening warmed once more, and a soft glow emerged from the planet beneath their feet, revealing a stairway carved from liquid crystal. At the summit, a floating platform awaited, marked with 3 glyphs: the mind, the heart, and the fate. The first trial had tested intellect. The second would test their empathy, the heart. From the crystal steps emerged a child, human in form, but composed of shimmering starlight, eyes reflecting all the sorrows and joys of humanity. The child didn't speak, but Elias felt its pain, abandonment, fear, hope, longing, all the emotions humans had endured across millennia. To pass, they would need to understand the child, care without judgment, and respond without manipulation or cruelty. Elias knelt first, letting his presence speak louder than words. I see you. I feel you. I will not leave you. The child extended a hand, not to take, but to offer. Elias reached, and the ring pulsed like a heartbeat. Behind him, Cade and Vale followed, forming a circle of protection and understanding. The starlight child smiled, not a human smile, but the essence of human empathy reflected back. The trial of the heart was complete. But the air shifted. Dark clouds coalesced overhead. The planet's voice, faint, omnipresent, murmured a warning. The trial of fate is yet to come. And only the steadfast survive despair. Elias felt a familiar weight on his chest. Not fear, not panic, but the gravity of what lay ahead. This is why humans survive, he thought. Because we refuse to surrender, even when all seems lost. And above the churning storms, lightning began to form a path, a bridge of raw energy leading to the final trial. Elias looked at his team. They nodded, silent but resolute. Together, they would walk it. But even as they stepped forward, a thought whispered in Elias' mind, soft, undeniable. Not luck. Someone wants you to survive. The wind howled. The bridge trembled. The trial of fate awaited. The bridge of lightning stretched ahead like a vein of molten silver across the storm-swept sky. Every step Elias took hummed through his bones, a resonance that tested more than balance. It tested courage, resolve, and the very essence of human will. The wind lashed at them, carrying shards of static energy that would have shredded lesser armor. The air itself seemed alive, as if the planet was aware of every doubt, every hesitation. Behind him, Cade and Vale moved in perfect synchronization, their steps echoing human persistence in the face of cosmic peril. Elias glanced down. The chasm below roared with energy, a river of living electricity. One wrong step, one flicker of fear, and it would have consumed them whole. He swallowed hard, steady, focused. Listen. The ring of listening pulsed warmly on his finger. It whispered subtle truths. Move with purpose. Trust your instincts. Do not yield to despair. Halfway across, the first challenge appeared. Visions, projections of their worst fears. Elias saw Earth burning, oceans boiling, cities collapsing. He saw his family, his friends, his entire species erased. Voices cried out, accusing, mocking. Each vision struck at his heart. Cade faltered. Elias grabbed his shoulder. Focus, these are not real. We survive because we decide to survive. Vale gritted his teeth, stepping carefully through the hallucinations. Not fear, not anger, clarity. Elias closed his eyes briefly. He whispered a prayer, not loud, not grand, just a quiet acknowledgement of something greater guiding them through impossible odds. If there is a path, show it. If there is hope, let us find it. Opening his eyes, he noticed the illusions weren't vanishing. They were growing stronger. Yet, with every step, the ring of listening pulsed harder, and the visions faltered. The planet was testing their inner resolve, not their strength, but their persistence, their capacity to endure despair without surrendering to it. Ahead, a massive shadow coalesced, a being formed from pure night, its form constantly shifting, eyes gleaming like dying stars. It spoke without a voice, embedding words directly into their minds. Give up, you cannot survive this. None before you have. Elias clenched his jaw. He thought of humanity, of survival against impossible odds, of creativity in the face of chaos, of courage when the world said it could not be done. He gritted his teeth and shouted into the storm, "We are human, and we refuse to vanish." The shadow recoiled, not from strength but from conviction. With each word, it fractured, lightning striking the bridge in fractal patterns. Cade and Vale followed, their own declarations of defiance joining his. Step by step, the bridge of raw energy began to stabilize beneath them, responding to their will, their persistence, their refusal to succumb. Finally, they reached the center, a platform suspended between storm and void. A pillar of light rose before them. Engraved upon it were words in the language of no species, yet somehow understood. Only those who endure despair without losing hope shall claim life. Elias exhaled. He touched the pillar. The light spread, washing over them, dissolving every shadow, every fear. The storm calmed. The chasm became a river of radiant blue, reflecting stars that didn't exist in any galaxy they knew. The trials of mind, heart, and fate had been completed. Humanity had passed where others failed. The ring of listening shone brighter than ever, projecting a map, not of terrain, but of possibilities. Futures unfolded like petals, and Elias glimpsed them all. Humanity rising, faltering, persevering, achieving, not through luck, but through ingenuity, courage, and unity. He looked at Cade and Vale. They were exhausted, trembling, but alive. This is what it means to be human. And then, above the silent platform, the witness of origin appeared again, the ancient being whose presence had swayed the Senate. Its voice, calm and unyielding, filled the void. You have endured. You have refused to yield to despair. You have chosen hope, action, and courage over fear. Humanity shall live. Elias felt tears sting his eyes. Not of relief alone, but of recognition that their species, flawed and chaotic, had proven its worth not through technology, not through force, but through indomitable will. The witness extended a hand, and the platform began to ascend. Below them, the storm of Aurelion Prime receded, and for the first time, Elias saw the planet's beauty in full. Towering crystalline spires, rivers of living light, forests that shimmered with bioluminescence. The witness spoke once more. "Return now to the galaxy. You carry the proof of humanity's resilience. Let no voice deny your presence again." As they lifted into orbit, Elias felt the ring of listening pulse for the final time. Soft, warm, affirming. Not luck, not chance. Someone wanted us to live. He looked out at the stars. He saw not chaos, but order, subtle, vast, and infinitely patient. Humanity had survived judgment. Humanity had endured. Humanity had arrived. And somewhere, far below on Aurelion Prime, the storms whispered a final truth. The universe respects those who refuse to be absent. The transport slipped from Aurelion Prime into the emptiness of interstellar space, carrying Elias, Cade, and Vale back to the heart of the galaxy. The Senate awaited, not with suspicion this time, but with a tension that was almost reverent. Word had already spread of humanity's survival. The impossible had happened. A species on the verge of extermination had walked through trials designed to break the strongest civilizations, and survived. Elias unstrapped himself in the cockpit, feeling the weight of a century's worth of human history pressing on his shoulders. Cade and Vale exchanged glances, silent acknowledgement passing between them. They had survived the unthinkable, and the universe had noticed. The transport docked. The chamber doors of the Galactic Senate loomed before them, vast, ornate, insurmountable, and yet Elias felt no fear. This time, they were expected, but not welcomed. Every being present knew what a human presence meant: unpredictability, creativity, courage, and defiance. He stepped onto the floor, boots echoing across obsidian tiles. The Senate, once deaf to humanity, fell completely silent. 3,000 species stared, some with awe, some with disbelief, others with a lingering instinctive fear. Elias' eyes scanned the room, pausing on the Archon. Its starfire body shimmered, an unreadable mixture of judgment and newfound respect. Elias raised his hand, not in surrender, not in command, but in quiet declaration. His voice, steady and unshaken, carried through the chamber. "Vote again." 2 words, simple, unequivocal, human. The Senate trembled. No one moved. No one spoke. For a heartbeat, the universe itself seemed to pause. Every species understood that these words were not a request. They were a challenge, a declaration of existence. The Archon inclined its radiant head. "So you stand." Elias nodded. "We have survived. We have endured. We have been tested, and we are still here. If our existence is to be judged, it must be judged in the light of our presence, not absence." Telepaths felt his resolve ripple through the chamber. Empaths sensed the raw human courage, the desperate, ingenious will that refused to yield. Machines and artificial intelligences recorded anomalies in behavior, patterns that defied all models. Humanity could not be contained, predicted, or dismissed. The Verthuan delegate pulsed erratically, a visible sign of confusion and rage. They were not invited. They should not exist. Elias tilted his head. "You forgot one rule of the universe. Power respects nothing more than those who refuse to be absent." Murmurs surged through the chamber. Beings shifted, their votes, previously sealed, decided in cold consensus, now trembling. Uncertainty rippled like light through liquid crystal. The Archon's voice cut through the tension, calm but thunderous. "The Council acknowledges the presence of humanity. The motion for extermination is hereby suspended. The vote is..." Reopened. Silence. Then an almost imperceptible ripple of relief and awe. The votes began again, this time fully conscious of the human envoy standing before them. And with every vote, Elias felt the galaxy itself bending to the idea that humans could not be erased, could not be ignored. When the final tally was announced, it was unanimous. Humanity would live. Not merely survive, but retain the right to participate in the Council of Civilizations. Humanity, chaotic, emotional, unpredictable, had earned its place among the stars. Elias exhaled slowly. For the first time in weeks, he allowed himself a small, private smile. Cade and Vale exchanged glances, their exhaustion mingling with pride. They had not only survived, they had asserted the irrepressible strength of human will. The Archon addressed the chamber. Let this be a reminder to all. The universe cannot determine the fate of a species without their presence, without their voice. Power bows only to those who refuse to vanish. And then, quietly, Elias felt it again, the subtle, warm presence of something greater. Not seen, not named, but undeniably there, guiding, witnessing, affirming. Not luck, someone wanted us to live. He looked to the stars beyond the Senate chamber. Humanity had faced judgment, endured impossible trials, and stood victorious, not because of luck, not because of technology, but because of courage, ingenuity, and the refusal to be absent. A voice, soft and almost inaudible, whispered in the recesses of his mind, "This is only the beginning." Elias stepped forward, shoulders squared, and with a glance at his team, walked fully into history. Behind him, the chamber, the galaxy itself, seemed to hold its breath, watching humanity take its rightful place. And somewhere in the silence of space, unseen but felt, the faint pulse of divine order echoed. Balance had been preserved, justice had been witnessed, and courage had been honored. The humans had arrived, and the universe would never forget.